Okay, now we have Randy Credico on the line, and I want to go to Randy. For those of you who don't know Randy, Randy has been a fierce fighter for freedom of speech. He has taken on the establishment. He has worked with Kunstler, the great attorney. He is very well known and highly respected in New York politics. But this is about Randy having a close understanding, meeting with Julian Assange on many occasions. And so I invited Randy on to ask, and nice to have you with us today, Randy.
Hey, thank you, Gary. And it just that your accomplishments are so amazing, and it's really a privilege to be part of this show. And the Wikipedia thing, it happened to me. I finally gave up the ghost, but I'm glad you're fighting them because it's just a complete smear job operation.
Well, I'm fighting on your behalf and thousands of others' behalf who couldn't change anything, so we're going to change it, and I'm going after Wikipedia Foundation. We've gotten background on all the board members and everyone associated with it. You see, like Lo Tzu, The Art of War, do not let them know you're coming until you're at the door. But here's what I want to ask you, and there's no one I know who knows more about this than you. Why is it that for those of us who are in the really progressive media and we care about issues, and why is it that the rest of the media, especially the New York Times and CNN and MSNBC, who've used Julian Assange's material, why is it that no one in the corporate liberal community is going to his defense at all?
Well, it's really a conundrum. It really isn't. I mean, they have circled the firing squad rather than the wagons, because Julian Assange, if Julian Assange goes, if he is extradited to the U.S., they will be next. That's the huge domino that falls. And then CNN and MSNBC, the Times, Gary Null, your show, WBAI, they're all next. I mean, this is a very bad precedent to be set, and I believe it will be the end of freedom in this country if Assange is brought into this country, goes through the kangaroo court in Eastern Virginia, and then sent to a supermax in Colorado. That's what's in store for him, because they're afraid of him, and these media outlets are afraid of getting on Julian Assange's side. You look at Ari Melber, never talks about him. Nobody on CNN, Wolf Blitzer, no one will go near him because the grass isn't that green for them on that side. They're very happy. They, go to these cocktail parties, but they don't want to interrupt their comfortable lives.
Randy, the people who have defended Julian Assange, John Pilger and Ray McGovern, Chris Hedges, Abby Martin, yourself, the Gray Zone, Max Blumenthal, Glenn Greenwald, Max Taibbi, these now to a person are all being attacked by the left. Since when did it become all right for the left to bring into its policymaking council the head of the CIA, who's lied, the head of the National Security Agency, Clapper, who lied under oath and corporatized what at once was a high form of ideal of social progressives, and yet the ones who were a member of that unique inner circle are now all expunged. When they tried to defend Julian Assange, they're put against the firing squad.
Well, we can also say Cornel West. There's been very little, defense in the black community in the leadership, whether it be in Congress or on media. Al Sharpton, Don Lemon. You don't see them coming out. And let's not forget Nils Melzer, the special rapporteur on torture at the UN. He has been pilloried. He has been smeared because he went in there the same way you would. He went in there and met Assange in the hospital, not in the hospital, but in the Belmarsh prison, and along with two doctors, and they came out with reports saying that this was psychological torture, what they're doing to him, and physical torture. And then he gets so much bad feedback from the establishment, and so he's not going to get his mandate reinstated next year because of it.
What message would you like to share to this audience, which is worldwide, about Julian Assange so that they can understand what he has accomplished that has benefited them, the truths he has told that has embarrassed the establishment, including the deep state establishment. Tell us those stories, please.
Oh, okay. Well, first of all, you've got the war logs. He's the one that published the war logs. Reuters, journalists being killed and then suppressed, and the Manning put it out there, and he published it, and then the Times published it, and CNN published it, and everybody else, but they seem to be immune. But that embarrassed them. The torture by the U.S., that embarrassed them. You got Cablegate, that embarrassed everybody. Cablegate, and then the DNC stuff, which embarrassed the corrupt Democratic National Committee, and how they burned Bernie Sanders. That's information we should all know. The corruption from top to bottom. And then the latest one that he did that really infuriated, and this was the coup de grace for him, and that's the reason why they're digging in and they're going to extradite him or try. And that is Vault 7, where he exposed all the different mechanisms by the CIA spying on domestically on U.S. citizens, how they could go through their TV sets, how they could go through their telephones. There are all these different devices that they use, but nobody knew about it. We're paying for it. We're all in jeopardy. We're all being spied on by the NSA and by the CIA, and not just us, people around the world. They should be concerned. And Assange exposed it at a great risk. When you take on the CIA, look, you've dealt with the medical establishment. You've gone against some of the most corrupt but hugest institutions in this country. I'm surprised. They pilloried you, and you got a lot of bad feedback. I'm surprised you're around today because you've taken on some of the biggest monsters that control this country.
The only reason I'm still around is because I don't fear them. When you have fear, suddenly you incapacitate much of your capacity to move in the moment. I believe that Julian Assange also was fearless. Now, I've never met the man. I've never spoken to him. I wished I had. You're fortunate in that respect. But I believe that what he has told us that we would not have known, like that gunship with the BlackRock people, mercenaries in it, that were killing innocent civilians, and they would have gotten away with it completely.
Yes.
And yet he was the one who brought that to our attention. And not one of the 10 million, more or less, documents that he has revealed to the public have been shown to be inaccurate. So where is it, Randy, where is it in our society, in our common mindset, that those who break the law are protected by the law, and those who expose the law being broken are now the victims of that same corrupt law? It's much like Anne Frank. In Germany, it was legal what they did to Anne Frank.
Exactly.
But it was wrong what they did, and the people who hit her were breaking the law. So at what point do we realize what side of the law do we want to be on, and do we have the capacity as a country and individually to challenge the complete disgrace of our entire judicial system, our political system that doesn't allow third parties, our complete media system that does not allow dissent on any issue? Your thoughts, please.
My thoughts are, and I will echo Bill Kunstler, that this whole legal apparatus that we have, which has jailed 3 million people, there are 50 million in the past, it goes through, and particularly political dissenters. They use the legal system to give it the aura of legitimacy, whether it be the Haymarket defendants, Sacco and Vanzetti, the Scottsboro boys. Those were all legal cases. The killing of 6 million Jews in Germany, that was legal. That was a legal thing. Socrates, that was legal. Jesus, that was all legal. So what they're doing right now, as immoral as it is, going after Julian Assange, putting him in a dungeon, this disgraceful, this decrepit dungeon. I mean, you know that Albert Speer was in Spandau. His conditions were 100 times better than where Julian Assange is right now. He is being tried in a courtroom in a glass cage, a plexiglass, bulletproof cage. I've watched it. I was there for 4 days in a row, in the same manner that Eichmann, when he was tried in 1961, underwent. Only difference is Eichmann had access to his lawyers. And Julian Assange, who exposed people who are like Eichmann, is in the same conditions. It's just, and he didn't have access to his lawyers. He's in a jail. He can't get his papers. He can't get on the internet. He's there in a toll booth like situation. 1 hour a day he can go out. 1 hour a day. What has he done wrong? Nothing. He exposed the people that have done something wrong. So they're the ones that should be on trial. The people you mentioned, Clapper and Hayden and Brennan, they should be on trial right now, not Julian Assange.
I fully agree. He told the truth at a time when we become indifferent to the truth except for the corporatized, propagandized truth. What can people do to help this situation?
They can do is they have to, as Al Lewis used to say, get the asses of the masses on the street. I think there's a growing movement. There are people that are organizing around the world. I was just in D.C. with Cornel West and his father and brother. We had a nice rally down there. New York City has been, stepping up, and people are protesting in front of the British consulate. Around the world, it is a growing movement. That's all we can do is stand up, organize, and, you do have to preach to the choir here, because I'm tired of trying to speak truth to power. I mean, let's preach to the choir, let them organize, because that's the only thing at this point that's going to save him and save the rest of the press around the world, especially in the U.S. We are on a very bad course. We are already a frail democracy. People need to get on the streets right now, not be immobilized with, like you say, junk food and their cell phones and garbage, junk food, television news. Get away from it. Get involved. Protect that fragile document called the First Amendment and the Bill of Rights. That's all I can say, other than telling your friends. You can write your congressman, your local congressperson, maybe city official, whatever you can do. Everybody's capable of what you're doing right now. This is very helpful. You have a huge audience out there that doesn't know about this. They've heard the propaganda. I mean, you have a very educated audience, but there are a lot of liberals out there who blame Assange for Trump's victory, and they'd rather him just rot right now. These liberal congressmen, and they're letting him just die under the bus, and they should be protecting him.
Randy, where can people hear your radio program?
Well, you can hear my radio show. Tomorrow is my last Assange Countdown to Freedom. I've been doing it at WBAI on Saturdays for an hour every Saturday at 6 p.m. I do have a half-hour show on Wednesday, but that's not an Assange show. So Assange Countdown to Freedom, I have 72, 73 shows up there, podcasts, videos, and everything, with John Pilger, with Niels Melzer, with Stefania Marici, with Max Blumenthal, and all the people you just spoke about. That's on AssangeCountdownToFreedom.com. There is a big library of videos and interviews, audio interviews on that site.
Randy, thank you very much. Randy's last name is Credico, Credito. First name Randy, R-A-N-D-Y. Randy, thank you for coming on, and thank you for keeping up the fight against the establishment on behalf of Julian Assange.
For doing this. I have a lot of admiration for you, and thank you for all that you've done, and thank you for taking on Wikipedia for all of us. Maybe my name will be cleared.
Yeah, well, we're going to fight for all of you, and I want to apologize again because in 55 years on the air, I've never mentioned my successes, what I do, or my positions. I simply share information. I'm merely the person who collects it, tries to make it as objective as possible, but now I have to mention these things simply because it's part of the effort. And by the way, it's not just me. Everyone that they're denigrating, they take away all of the credibility of everything they've ever achieved that's important and try to show that everyone who's being pillared on Wikipedia deserves it. Not true. Thank you all for listening, and have a nice day.